The film begins in Hong Kong, and at that time, preparations were underway for a martial arts tournament called Kamachi, a highly secret and illegal tournament. The best fighters in the world have received invitations to participate in this tournament. We see fighters of all kinds preparing for the championship. There is a runner who breaks the wood with his knee, another breaks the ice stones with his foot, and a fighter who breaks the coconut with his hand. In America, there is a fighter named Jackson who practices the punching bag, and his colleague comes to talk to him and warn him of the Kamachi Championship, because there are fighters who die in it. But Jackson is not afraid of this talk and tells him that he likes violent fights. In the Navy, there was a fighter named Frank who trained at the gym, and his colleague told him that the colonel wanted to talk to him before he took a vacation because he knew he would participate in the Kamachi Championship and wanted to talk to him about it. Frank tells him that he will take a bath and then go to meet the officer, so the officer tells him that he will have to wait for him, and Frank doesn't mind. But it turns out that Frank escaped from the place, and when the officer knows this, he is shocked and runs to inform the colonel that Frank escaped. So the colonel orders him to assign 2 officers to arrest Frank and says to him, "I don't want to see your face except when Frank is with you." After that, Frank arrives at his teacher's house, and the teacher's wife receives him and tells him that the teacher, Tanaka, is sick, and she will enter to inform him of survival, then leaves him and walks. Frank looks at the sword and remembers the past, when he was a teenager and he and his friends went to teacher Tanaka's house. Frank's friends wanted to steal the sword, but they run away when they hear the sound of someone approaching, while Frank does not escape and returns the sword to its place. Tanaka's son hits Frank in the stomach. Tanaka calms him down and removes his son, then tells Frank that he may not come to steal the sword, but he must fight to deserve it. Frank replies that he didn't want to steal the sword, so Tanaka makes a quick move with which he cuts Frank's hat, and Frank is sunset and doesn't understand what happened. Tanaka admires his courage because he didn't hide and stayed standing, tells him that he has a warrior spirit, tells him that he will not report him to the police, and then goes with him to Frank's parents. Tanaka tells them that boys in this time need discipline and strength, and that martial arts training can provide that. So they are asked to train Frank in martial arts, and his parents admire the words of the teacher Tanaka and agree. But it turns out that Tanaka only needed Frank to be his son's boxing bag, so he ordered his son to hit Frank. Frank gets upset with Tanaka and says to him, "Why don't you train me?" He responds that he came only to help him train his son, and nothing more. Frank had nothing to do. One day, Tanaka's son is beaten by his schoolmates, so Frank intervenes and manages to beat them. Tanaka's son stands up and tells Frank that one day he will fight in the Kamachi Championship and make his father proud of him. But this does not happen. After many years, the son dies as a teenager. Tanaka is at the peak of grief over his son's death and decides not to finish training again. Frank asks him to coach him, but Tanaka refuses because Frank is neither Japanese nor from the Tanaka family. Tanaka tells him his story and tells him that he is from Japan, and because of the World War, his wife and children died and his country was destroyed, so he had to come and live here and start a new life and build a new family, and teach his son the martial arts that his family has been conveyed for more than 2,000 years, but his son also died. Frank tells him that he will honor his family, honor his fighting style, and win the Kamachi Championship if he agrees to coach him. Tanaka agrees and begins to train him, telling him that the most important thing is to use his mind more than his body. During training, we know that Frank does not differentiate between right and left. Among the exercises that undergo are the training of fishing, meditation, and fighting with eyes closed. Frank was spending a long time of his day covering his eyes and was able to repel surprise attacks from Tanaka. Tanaka is happy and realizes that Frank has become a real fighter. Tanaka continues his harsh training with him, hitting Frank with the stick while he is in a state of meditation until he learns not to mind anything that surrounds him but meditation, and to stay focused on what he does without distraction. While doing stretching exercises, Frank breaks the teacher's Tanaka's apparatus. After the training is over, Tanaka gives him a legendary Japanese sword because Frank became a strong fighter and trained very hard. Nowadays, Frank meets the teacher Tanaka and tells him that he will travel to Hong Kong to honor his family. Tanaka wishes him well and tells him that his soul will be with him and will fight alongside him, and tells him that he has taught him everything he knows and that he is ready. Frank then arrives in Hong Kong and meets on the bus the fighter Jackson, who will also participate in the Kamachi Championship. They go to the hotel where all the tournament fighters are staying. There is a journalist who asks the fighters about the Komati Championship, but because it is a secret championship, they do not agree to tell her anything, and they tell her that they do not know what she is talking about, so she fails to get any information. After that, Jackson asks Frank to play a game with him, and they get to know each other, and Jackson tells him that he will participate in the Komati Championship, so Frank introduces him to himself and tells him that he will participate in the tournament as well. Meanwhile, two detective officers go to Tanaka's house and ask his wife about Frank, and she tells them that he has been here for 2 days because he was visiting his teacher. They ask her if Frank has gone to Hong Kong, but she says she doesn't know. We return to the hotel in Hong Kong, where Frank and Jackson meet the tournament supervisor, who tells them that this year's tournament is different from any previous tournament. Because this year, fighters from all over the world will participate, he warns them not to cause any problems with anyone, so as not to be expelled from the tournament. After that, he takes them to the building where the tournament will be held, and they walk a long distance inside a narrow alley. And in this way, they have crossed the border of Hong Kong and swam into China, and then arrive at the tournament venue to register their names. Frank gives the invitation he received, and tells them that he represents the Tanaka family, so they are surprised, and tell him that his appearance does not look Japanese. Frank replies to them that the teacher Tanaka himself is from his path, but the teachers doubt his words and ask him to prove that he trained under the hand of the teacher Tanaka to show them the blow of death, and to break the rock brick made of this kind of brick only. All the fighters gather to watch this scene, and indeed Frank succeeds in breaking the brick with one blow. So everyone is stunned by his strength, and the teachers agree to accept him in the tournament. After that, the two detective officers arrive in Hong Kong, and they do not waste time, so they go to the police and tell the officer that there is a person on their run named Frank, and he will fight in a tournament called Komati, and that they came to stop him. They ask him to distribute Frank's photo to all the officers, and to inform them if anyone sees him, because they need their help. The officer tells them that he will try to do everything he can, but he is reluctant to chase someone who has not committed a crime. At the hotel, the Arab fighter, Hussein, tries to get close to the journalist and show her his strength, but she refuses, so he almost hits her. But Frank prevents him and asks him to leave her alone. Hussein wants to fight with Frank, but Frank tells him that the fight will lead to their expulsion from the tournament, and instead suggests that they play a game, and the winner takes the journalist. He explains the rules to him, saying to him, "Hold the coin, and if you can take it from you before you close your hand, I will be the winner, and if you lose, you will be your journalist." The journalist is surprised because she has become a party to the bet, and Frank reassures her. Hussein gives the currency. Frank remembers his fishing training, and actually manages to take the coin from his hand quickly, and even replace it with another coin without Hussein feeling it. After that, Frank goes out with the journalist, and asks her why she was standing with Hussein. So she tells him that she wants to write an article about Komati's secret tournament, and she tried to get information from Hussein. In turn, she asks him why he participated in the tournament, and he tells her that he wants to honor the Tanaka family. They agree to go out for dinner the next night. Frank returns to his room and practices stretching exercises, and Jackson enters his room and tells him that this site caused him injury before, and he keeps talking to him and telling him that the tournament is about to begin. But Frank is not focused with him, as all his focus is on the exercises Tanaka taught him. After the training is over, they go to the tournament place, and the first day begins. The organizers of the tournament announce that the tournament is held once, every 5 years, and is played over 3 days, and there are 3 ways to win. The first by knockout, the second is the withdrawal of one of the fighters, and the third is that the fighter throws his opponent out of the ring. After that, the audience places their bets on the winner, and the first fight begins, where one of the fighters receives a strong blow in the face and bleeds blood, then receives the knockout and loses. Jackson enters the ring to fight, and although his opponent is underweight, he strikes hard at Jackson and causes him to bleed. So Jackson gets angry and gives him one blow that drops him to the ground. Then Chung challenges the former champion of Komati. After Jackson's victory, he returns to his place and greets the audience. Before Chung's fight, Frank asks, "Who is this person?" Jackson answers him that he is Chung, the fighter who has never been defeated. The supervisor tells them that Chung has already defeated his opponent with 1 hit, and he has several records. Chung enters the ring, and in just 14 seconds he strangles his opponent until he loses and wins him, and the organizers of the tournament declare that he is a new record in the Komati Championship. 14 seconds and 8 parts of a second. Frank and Jackson are amazed at his strength. It's Frank's turn to fight Hussein, so he confronts his attacks and strikes him with a strong blow, and he can easily defeat him. Hussein tries to attack him from behind, but Frank feels him and hits him. Frank turned out to have broken Chung's record, winning his run in just 12 seconds. Chung is shocked and feels that Frank will be his real rival to the tournament. The fights continue, and each fighter reviews different skills from various martial arts. And there was a fighter using the ground fighting method. You play a lot of games on the first day. Meanwhile, the Chinese officer changes his mind and agrees to help the American officers, telling them about the hotel where Frank is staying. They don't waste time and head there. Order Frank to return to America. Tell him that the government has paid a lot of money to train him in the Navy, and they can't allow him to participate in the tournament and get hurt. Frank rejects their words and tells them that he will complete the tournament and then return to America in 2 days. They don't like his response, so they take out an electric shock and threaten him to force him to give up. But Jackson intervenes and attacks them, and gives Frank a chance to escape, so they all run in the streets. Frank manages to escape from them. At night, he has dinner with the journalist and stays up with her, although he needs rest and focus in tomorrow's matches. The journalist tries to convince him to take her to the place of the Komati Championship, but he refuses and tells her that it is not possible, because there are strict rules that prevent the disclosure of the location of the tournament to anyone. The next day, it turns out that they spent the night together at the journalist's house. Then Frank says goodbye to her and heads to the tournament venue. There he finds Jackson, who decides to break the brick like Frank did. It is also clear that the journalist succeeded in sneaking into the place of the tournament after getting to know one of the supervisors. Very strong battles begin. The fans are happy, while the journalist is not comfortable with this violence. Frank participates in the fight, repels a blow to the bird, and wins. After that, Jong enters the ring and destroys his opponent. And after his victory, he breaks his leg, and the crowds cheer for Jong. Frank's winning streak continues non-stop, winning his 5th debt. He then faces an African fighter, and the African tells him that he will defeat him in 2 minutes. But Frank defeats him in just 3 seconds, and the opponent flies out of the ring. The Earth fighter faces a heavyweight fighter, and the huge fighter manages to catch him and break his spine. After that, Frank confronts this huge fighter and tries to hit him with his foot, but the opponent repels the blow and tries to break Frank's back. Frank strikes the head and frees him, then strikes him hard and hits him under the belt and beats him. Chung gets nervous after watching Frank's strength. The time comes when Jackson fights against Chung. He gives Frank Jackson advice and tells him to focus on Chung's stomach, because it's his weak point, and to get away from his right leg. But Jackson ignores Frank's advice, thinking the fight will be easy. During the game, Jackson is superior to Chung, but he makes a mistake when he turns his back on him, greets the fans and shows off himself, giving Chung time to take his breath away and recover. Chung returns and drops Jackson, gives him several blows with his foot, then crushes his head with a strong kick, takes Jackson's tape and challenges Frank. Frank ignores his challenge, reassures Jackson, who has lost consciousness, and Jackson is taken to the hospital. Frank promises him that he will take revenge on him and beat Chung. The journalist watches Frank and asks him to withdraw and not fight Chung, because he is a dangerous person, but he refuses and tells her that he is not fighting for himself, but for the teacher Tanaka. The journalist goes to the police and asks the officer to stop the Komati tournament because it is a very violent tournament in which fighters may die. At night, Frank's mind is so distracted by what happened to Jackson and the journalist's words, to the point that he begins to imagine. The next day, Frank performs stretching and meditation exercises, making his mind clear, then heads to the place of the championship. But detective officers block his way after knowing the location of the championship through the police officer, who came with them and other officers to catch Frank. Frank manages to beat them all, repels electric lightning attacks, and then takes them from them. The journalist appears in the place, and it is clear that she was the one who reported the location of the tournament. Frank tells the officers that he will meet them tomorrow at the airport, then leave them and go. The American officers take journalists to the tournament venue to watch Frank. In the semi-final, Frank faces a boxer. At first they shake hands, but the boxer turns out to be a coward. So he attacks him and hits him while he is falling to the ground, but Frank gets up. Frank takes the fight more seriously. They exchange kicks, but Frank is not affected by his attacks, and eventually manages to eliminate him with a strong kick and qualify for the final, exchanging glances with Chung. The journalist and officers admired Frank's performance. In the other semi-finals, Chung faces a Thai Muay Thai trainer. Chung breaks his bones and brutally beats him, then breaks his neck, killing him. All present stand in respect of the dead fighter, and the organizers of the tournament turn their backs on the ring as a sign that they will overlook what happened. Chung points to Frank and says to him, "The turn is up to you." The fans begin to place their bets on the winner of the final, and the two fighters prepare. Chung's assistants put a chalk in his ligament to use it for a certain reason. Chung ties Jackson's tape around his knee and says to Frank, "I dared and broke my record, so I'll break you like I broke your friend." The fighting begins between them, and from the beginning, Frank delivers quick and strong blows to Chung, but Chung is not affected and Frank drops with one blow, and he seems to be stronger than him. Yet Frank's determination does not shake, and he manages to shoot Jong to the ground. Chung takes out the chalk and throws it into Frank's eyes, and Frank loses the ability to see well. Chung takes advantage of the situation and deals a strong blow to Frank, so he is unable to fight. Frank calms down and controls his emotions, remembering how Tanaka taught him to fight with his eyes closed. He repels Chung's blow and starts fighting him semi-blind. Fast and strong kicks at him and surpasses him. Chung can't stand in front of him. Frank grabs his head and orders him to give up. Chung really gives up, Frank wins and Jackson's tape gets back. The audience rejoices and greets the hero, and thus Frank has honored the teacher Tanaka and receives the championship award, which is a legendary sword. After that, Frank goes to the hospital to say goodbye to Jackson and give him his tape, then heads to the airport to travel to America. We know in the end that the film is inspired by real events, and that Frank's character is a real character, and he is the one who told the details of the film in his personal memoirs. But there is no one else who confirmed that these events actually took place. He is said to have played 392 games in his lifetime and did not lose any matches. Johnny Cage's character in the famous Mortal Kombat game was also inspired by Frank's character, and for your information, Johnny Cage's character will appear in the movie Mortal Kombat 2, which will be released this year. Don't forget to like if you like the video, and subscribe to the channel if you like this type of videos and you want it to continue.